What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Coach Black, your internet, relationship, and breakup coach. Today's topic: your ex will only feel the pain of losing you when it burns. Now let me explain. So I know you're at a place where you're wondering if your ex will ever regret what they did, leaving the relationship so abruptly, acting like the years or months that you accumulated together, building something of substance, treating it all like it didn't matter. So a part of you, which is very human, wants some kind of vindication or even understanding or contemplating. Are they going to feel the same hurt that you are feeling currently? In most cases, they will. And let me explain to you how they get to that point. See, I want to tell you a quick story, which will absolutely tie back to the situation you're facing currently. See, something like 15 or 16 years ago, I met for the first time the first love of my life. I was a sophomore in college, and she was a freshman. It was August or so, and all the students were coming back to school. This was her first semester, my third or fourth at the time, and they used to host these like get-togethers for new students to just kind of mingle and get to know each other. I remember when I set my eyes on her from across the room, and she literally took my breath away. I thought, this is the most beautiful person I've ever laid eyes on. I have to talk to her. And at the time, I had just joined a fraternity. I thought I was pretty cool. I thought I was a cool guy on campus. And so, I approached her. Can't remember exactly what I said. She was kind of leaning against the wall, talking to some of her friends. I'm sure I just interrupted her and just like, hey, my name is so-and-so. And so anyway, we strike up a conversation. I'm kind of making my intentions clear that I'm interested. But at the time, she just kind of waves me off and kind of disinterested look. And so I was heartbroken. At this point, I thought that was the end of it. Like, I have to walk around campus and probably see her from time to time, knowing that I didn't stand a chance. Anyway, fast forward maybe a couple days or a week. One of my best friends was actually talking to or met her best friend, and he was going to hang out with her. Long story short, they're all going to be in the same place at the same time, and he invited me. Now, I remember thinking, why should I go to that? Like, she just was rude to me the other day. Why should I be interested? Anyway, I go, I hang out with everyone, and we hit it off that day. There was definitely something there. Now, at the time, she happened to be in a relationship, which actually made sense as to why she rejected me in the first place. But there was definitely some kind of connection underneath. Now, for the next couple of months and years, we definitely tried to connect, but nothing ever stuck in a meaningful way. And we got to a point where we just essentially went our separate ways, but we would check in from time to time and just see how each other was doing. I definitely still had strong feelings for her. Had a huge crush still, but at the end of the day, it's only so many times a guy can get rejected. And so let me just make this clear. I've never been perfect in relationships. And I do think that's one of the purposes of this channel, is to express some of my failings and take the lessons and help you on your journey. Anyway, fast forward years down the line. Now I think I'm in grad school, and all of a sudden she starts reaching out to me. We're texting and things are going well. And before you know it, that budding connection that we've had for all those years finally materialized into something, substantial. We got into a relationship. We dated, probably most of the time I was in grad school. I graduated, everything was amazing. And we were at a critical juncture in life where we're thinking and plotting on what are going to be the next steps, careers, where are you going to move and things like that. At the same time, this was a few years after the financial crisis. So the job market was kind of spotty. Anyway, things were very weird and difficult to kind of make my mark and figure out my next steps. But one thing I was sure of was I was sure of her. Like, this was my person, and no matter what we faced, we were going to go through it together. And so we decided to get married. We were excited about the connection. I graduated grad school. We're building our lives together finally. We move in together and things are amazing. But at the time, right, I hadn't yet started in my career, truthfully, because I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering. And so I'm trying to figure that out, building our relationship. And as we're growing and moving forward together, what do you know? We get pregnant, and I'm expecting, at the time, which I didn't know, my daughter. Okay. So fast forward, we have our kid and we're living our life. I'm still trying to figure out the career situation a year later. So things are not going great. But one of the most important lessons that I learned from getting to know this new little girl that we brought into the world was, how human beings work, even from a very young age. And I'll tell you how this story applies to your ex. So one thing that will happen as I was struggling, trying to make my way in the world, this was also around the time, imagine, I have a new baby, trying to figure out my career, take care of my family. My wife at the time is working and doing what she can to take care of us, and family is helping, taking care, and kind of chipping in as well. And at this point, this is also when I lost my father, and I've shared this on the channel before. Anyway, everything is terrible, and I'm like, at this point, I have an engineering degree, nothing's working out. I need to just do something to provide for my family. So I remember going to a career fair, and again, it's years after the financial crisis, but I had no real engineering work experience. It was just tricky. Long story short, I'm at a point where I'm strongly considering, taking a job at Chuck E. Cheese. The rat guy with the, and do that. At least that way I could provide for my family. So I remember when I was going through these periods, and I would come home and after looking for work and come home and just be spending time with my daughter, I remember anytime I would come with this energy, a little negative, a little short, down on life. It just, I didn't say anything, but I remember all the times I was in that frame of mind. She would always start crying. She would always be fussy. Anytime my energy was off, anytime I let the stresses get the best of me, and even though I was not saying mean things to my little baby, right? All of those actions and energy came through probably my body language and just how I was interacting with her. Now, this period didn't last for too long, Not long after, I was able to start my career in engineering, and, things started to grow and move upward from there. But what always stuck with me was how this little girl, only a couple months old, she doesn't understand the English language. She doesn't speak back to me. She would just make faces, laugh, and smile. She was just being a kid, doing what kids do best. But every single time where my energy was off, my demeanor was wrong, she could pick up on it. And this is why people say 85 to 90% of communication is nonverbal, right? A lot of times your words, kind of can try to cover up your emotions, but your emotions most times still give a tell. it will show and it will exude in the things that you do, how you move, the tonality of your voice. These things are very important, especially when it comes to dealing with a breakup. Because the most important thing that happens when your ex realizes that they lose you, maybe you've been learning about no contact, you've stayed away from them. The very first thing that happens is that they start to test you. They start to test you. They send you breadcrumbs, they watch your story, they contact your friends, they do little things. Maybe sometimes they even call you directly. But most times, they're just testing, at least initially, to see where you're at, to see where your feelings are. Do you still care about them? Now, if you've watched a lot of these videos, you may be able to answer, you may be able to say the right words in the moment, but most times your energy will give you away. The way you react to certain things that they do, maybe you get angry, you get frustrated with them. It's because you're showing that you still have strong emotions. See, a lot of people take no contact as a band-aid solution. Okay, if I just do this trick, my ex is going to come back. They're going to fall back helplessly in love with me after 30 days, after 45 days. Well, most times that's never the case, because your ex, a lot of times subconsciously, has evaluated you and truly believes on some level that you're not a good partner for them, for whatever reason. And so most times they're looking for confirmation, they're looking for proof. And the only thing that makes them anxious is that fear of losing you. So when you're doing the thing, you're doing no contact, they get fearful, right? They're still trying to see if the grass is greener, but now you've kind of amplified their fear. So they start to test it, just want to make sure they still have you. And hopefully, if they still have you, they have more time to find your replacement. So if you cannot stick with your decision, if you cannot ignore the breadcrumbs, if they reach out to you and you ask to get together and they're giving you excuses, you don't beg them. You don't chase them. You have to be strong in your body language, your energy, your tonality, that you're serious. And it's not about forcing them to be with you. It's about standing up for yourself. No contact is essentially a negotiation. Let me tell you the second story that I learned, lesson I learned from my daughter. See, as she was growing up, naturally, she got older. She would start getting into things. And like, hey, don't do this. Hey, stay away from that. And most times, we're too young, kids ourselves in our 20s. And so we're trying to make sure she's safe and protected. And knock on wood, we were successful. But there were always these little things that she would get into. Hey, don't run too fast. And then don't run inside the house. And then she would run and trip and fall and start crying. And, sooner or later, she would be fine. But a lot of times I noticed that she had to experience some things for herself before she got to a point where she would blindly trust the words of adults or her parents, right? A lot of times that human spirit is one of curiosity. We like to test and explore and figure things out for ourselves. And so a lot of times, kind of like when you tell a kid, don't touch the stove. Now, I didn't experience this personally. It's not until they touch it and it burns that they realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that in the first place. You see, this is the same thing that applies to your ex, especially when going through a breakup. There has to be consequences for leaving you, even if you want to fix things with them. And all that means is you shouldn't be so easy to win over. You should stop thinking about the breakup like, do I still have another chance with them? Will I still be able to get them back? As much as you love them, I'm sure you do. You have to start thinking about yourself as a prize as well. And when you do this, you will be more strong in your conviction. And when your ex is subconsciously thinking, this no contact thing, maybe they watched a video. Because your ex knows you. They know how much you care about them. And so when they start testing you and doing all these little things, they have to see, now that they broke their relationship, they have to be the ones to put it back together. They have to be the ones that will fix it. Right? This is what I mean by it has to burn. There has to be some struggle. There has to be some effort and pain to win you over. And this is not by ignoring your ex. This is not about being mean. I've never said that. You have to have grace. You have to be kind. But you have to have so much self-respect that essentially, if someone isn't prioritizing you, you do not prioritize them. Your ex is no longer your number one priority. Matter of fact, you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them loyalty, because sometimes maybe your ex, I was reading a comment that a guy, I think his ex started dating someone else, and she was mad that he went on a date while she was with someone else at the same time. So you see how your ex starts to ask and demand things of you that they have not earned. And if you jump every time they ask you to, there are still no consequences. They have to be less of a priority. And even if, let's say, your ex approaches you with positivity, and even if they were chasing and they say, hey, I'm ready to fix things today, you should move slowly, right? They have to feel like, wow, it was so hard to win her over. It was so hard to get him back. Next time I think about leaving again, maybe I'll think twice. Your ex truthfully needs to be demoted. Meaning if you're at a point where you are dating, they are now someone else that you're dating, and you're giving a chance to see if they can be compatible with you. And even if you're not dating, you still have to have the same energy, the same mindset that they must work to get you back, since they took you for granted. To conclude a little bit on my personal story, I won't dwell too much on it. Anyway, part of my lessons here is, that marriage did end up failing. It did disintegrate because we weren't loving each other the way we each deserve to be loved. And a lot of times I think as a man, you have to take most of the responsibility for that, right? We were both young, and trying to figure things out. But I definitely could have been a better example, a better leader, took in more accountability. So I learned from those things. And truthfully, all in all, it was for the best, because I was able to learn and grow, right, in so many ways. And I do wish my ex the best, right? And so from there, this is how, I got back into the dating market, started dating and making more mistakes. I don't make this channel because I'm perfect. I am not. I just sprinkle in some personal stories here and there. And this is one of them, okay? So that marriage was certainly one of my failures, but one of the biggest blessings came out of that. My daughter. And actually, that was the genesis for me getting into the dating market and being obsessed with relationships, human nature, attraction, and a lot of the things that we talk about on this channel, right? And so I say all that to say this. If you do not mean it, if you're doing no contact as some kind of tactic or game, your ex will feel it, okay? Think about each of us as human beings. You have your gut, right? Your intuition. We're almost, lie detectors on some level. And I'll say this, generally speaking, women are way more intuitive than men are. So if you think you can just do the no contact game and she's going to change her mind, especially, or he's going to change his mind, they are going to know. You're going to give tells. You're going to care too much. You're going to be too fearful. And you're going to push them away. Because once they know that they have you, then there was no real consequence for dumping you. It didn't hurt. It didn't burn. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. Hit the like button. I truly appreciate you for stopping by and watching. And I hope you find this helpful. If you have any thoughts, comments, please drop them down in the comment section below. I appreciate you for giving me feedback and so on. If you want to talk to me about your personal situation, it would be an honor. I'd love to talk to you and help you get to the next level. Get to a place where you feel strong and secure in yourself. You are willing to walk away from people who walk away from you. And even if you love them, you dare them to find someone better than you. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.